The Hartford Wolf Pack has won 6 consecutive games. Brennan Othmann is leading the charge, but will we see him with the New York Rangers this season? We debate, plus a look at tonight's clash between the Rangers and the Senators.
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 955 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And that intro song is, of course, Leave the Lights On from our good friends in Passafire. You can check those guys out anywhere you get your music. So, wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit for today's episode. Obviously, the Rangers are going to be back in action tonight against the Ottawa Senators, and we'll preview that game in just a little bit here. But I want to focus in on the Hartford Wolf Pack. Always good to check in on the pack from time to time, see how some of these prospects are doing, see who could be next in line for a call-up. And, of course, no better time checking on the Wolf Pack than right now when they're in the middle of a 6-game winning streak. They've been playing very well. They've scored 4 or more goals in all 6 of these wins that they've had consecutively here, and some really dramatic wins recently, too. 2 of the 3 most recent victories for the Wolf Pack have been in overtime, and I want to highlight those 2 wins specifically. We're not going to cover all 6 games. That would take forever, and we'd be here all day. But as far as the 2 overtime wins, the second most recent of the overtime winners was against the Belzile Senators. That was 4-3 in overtime on November 25th. And then more recently, in their most recent game, in fact, the Pack beat the Lehigh Valley Phantoms 5-4 in overtime. And that was again this past Saturday. Both those games were at home. So saying the Hartford faithful home happy after those overtime victories. But against the Senators, you had the veteran Riley Nash. He ends up with his 7th goal of the season. This happened 4:19 into the overtime period. You got Mac Hallowell. He got his 2nd assist of the game on that play, basically drove to the net, made a pass over to Nash. Nash takes care of it for the game winner. And after the game, I thought this was pretty interesting. Steve Smith, the interim coach for the Hartford Wolf Pack, he really, I watched his presser, and he really put over Riley Nash as, somebody that's kind of a leader and was setting an example for some of the young guys on the team. He, during the press conference, just talked about how Nash was calm and was a positive influence on some of the younger players. And, he's going to have to be, because right now, obviously, Johnny Brodzinski is up with the Rangers. He's typically the Hartford Wolf Pack captain. I mean, I guess technically he still is, but he's with the Rangers right now and doing very well. We talked about him in our most recent episode. So if you want my thoughts on Brodzinski and him currently playing in the top 6 for the Rangers, you can go back and check out the episode before this one. But with him gone from the Wolf Pack, you got to look to other guys to hopefully step up. Riley Nash is one of the alternate captains, and maybe he steps up as kind of the de facto leader of the team. He is 34 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So one of the few vets on the Wolf Pack, and obviously coming through in the clutch there with the overtime winner. Also of note in this game, the fact that the Pack trailed 2-0. Brennan Othmann, of course, scored a goal to cut it down to 2-1. Then you had fellow big prospect, Adam Sikora. He scored on a deflection to make it 2-2. Othmann, when the Pack fell behind 3-2, he tied it once again with a goal, I believe in the 3rd period, to tie it at 3-3. That set the stage for Riley Nash to win it in the overtime period. And then the other overtime win for the Pack, once again, was this most recent game that the Wolf Pack played. That was on Saturday. They win 5-4 against the Phantoms. Once again, they fell into a 2-0 hole in this game. They trailed 2-0 at the first intermission, scored 3 straight goals in the second period, and actually led 3-2 going into the 3rd period to kind of, bring you guys up to speed as far as how that happened. First of all, I don't want to bury the lead here. The game-winning goal in overtime was scored by Brennan Othmann. He got 3:52 into the overtime period. Once again, that was his 2nd goal of this game. He went top shelf. Mac Hallowell and Nico Brouillard both get assists on that goal. And to kind of go back to what I was talking about with the Pack down 2-0, you had Brennan Othmann. He scored the first goal of this game that cut the Pack deficit down to 2-1. Matt Rempe tied the game at 2-2. Carl Henriksen made it 3-2 in favor of the Wolf Pack, and then Brett Berard in the third period scored to make it 4-2. The game still ended up in overtime after the Phantoms were able to rally, but a beautiful goal for the overtime winner for Othmann and the Wolf Pack. It occurred while the Pack was on the power play, so you get the 4-on-3 advantage in the AHL, just like it would be in the NHL. And a really good play by Brouillard. He basically got to a loose puck that, was kind of a 50-50 puck, but he was able to kind of just chip it ahead back behind the net to Alex Belzile. He was back there behind the net, and then Belzile quickly passes out the other side of the net to Mac Hallowell. Hallowell then dishes from the left circle over to the right circle back to Brouillard, and then Brouillard up top to Othmann. Othmann rips a wrister from the high slot. Game over. Wolfpack wins again. And like I said, that made it 6 straight for the Wolfpack. And as far as Brennan Othmann is concerned and, where he is with his development and could we see him with the Rangers this season, we did a series of predictions coming into the NHL season, just kind of throwing out everything from this guy's going to get this many points and this is going to happen over here and this guy's going to win that award. And one that I threw out there with Brennan Othmann was that he would be called up. I believe I said Sunday or Monday after Thanksgiving, somewhere in there. The Rangers were going through a grind in the schedule, and I just thought that maybe that would be a spot where they could use a little bit of a spark. And obviously, I didn't know the Rangers were going to have the kind of record that they have right now. So obviously, there's no real need to rush anything as far as Othmann is concerned. But he's picked it back up again recently with the Wolfpack. Othmann got off to a nice start with his career with the Hartford Wolf Pack there. He had 2 goals and an assist in his first 2 games there. He then also had a 3-assist game on October 29th. He cooled off for a little while there, but he's just been absolutely on fire recently. He has now 6 goals and 4 assists in his last 7 games. And as far as his season totals, he's now up to 8 goals and 9 assists in 20 games. He's also a -2 in that time. So does he get the call from the Rangers this season? That remains to be seen. I feel like it definitely could go either way. And on one hand, the Rangers, as I mentioned a second ago, they're killing it right now. One of the best records in the NHL. I believe still the best record in the NHL, but I didn't check the standings today, so I have to double check that. But if they're not, they're right there. They're right in the mix. And, obviously, you look at it that way and it's like, well, don't upset the apple cart. Everybody's playing well and you don't want to have somebody, unjustly removed from the lineup. By that same token, though, Rangers are trying to win a Stanley Cup this season. And so if you feel that Brennan Othmann gives you a better chance to do that, if you feel that he's ready, if you feel that, he's going to get to the point where he has nothing left to prove in the AHL, or really you just want to kind of roll the dice and just take a shot and just see, okay, is he really? Give him a little bit of an opportunity, give him a little bit of rope and just see how it goes with Brennan Othmann. And I would think, they don't have to do that right now, but I also, if I'm the Rangers, I'm not going to wait until there's 5 or 6 games left in the regular season. At that point, you're kind of in scramble mode to determine whether, Othmann should be on the playoff roster. I think the better move is, again, it doesn't have to happen now, but I would like to see Othmann at some point this season. And it's unfortunate for whoever would have to come out of the lineup for that. But the Rangers are dealing with some injuries right now. And as well as they've played, adding a little bit more, secondary scoring, that could be a good thing for the Rangers. And again, I don't want to jump the gun here. We've seen a couple of players in the past with the Rangers, get called up to the NHL maybe before they were ready or skip the AHL entirely. And maybe that was a mistake in hindsight in some of these cases. But yeah, Othmann, he's going to get his shot sooner or later. We'll see if it ends up being this season. But again, he's picking it back up. And the best thing Othmann can do if he wants to play for the Rangers, if he wants to get that call, is just keep doing what he's doing. He's produced at a pretty high level for the Hartford Wolf Pack, his first taste of AHL action this season. So in just a second, we're going to keep everything rolling here. I want to talk about a couple of transactions that the Wolfpack has made. Also want to shout out a couple of other, recent big-time performers for the Wolfpack. And then eventually, like I said, going to take a look at the Rangers versus Senators tonight. Hopefully the Rangers can obviously just keep it going and hopefully play a full 60 because we haven't seen them do that the last couple of games. And that would obviously be nice to see tonight against the Senators. But we'll get to all that fun stuff in just a second. First, definitely want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, hockey, and much, much more. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of an 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is also brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right here, right now to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So, and I should mention this too. My friend, I've talked about this in the past, big-time New York Giants fan. Sure, we got some Giants fans listening to this as well. He always has this strategy of betting against the Giants because his words, not mine. You know, he gets to something good happens no matter what. Either his football team wins the game or they lose, and he at least wins some money out of the deal. So just an idea for you guys there. But once again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season, or keep enjoying the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, we just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And for the everydayers, our next episode, obviously, we're going to be taking a look at whatever happens between the Rangers and the Senators tonight, breaking it down from every angle. Definitely looking forward to that. But for right now, let's continue to get everybody, caught up to speed here on the Hartford Wolf Pack and how they're basically just killing it in the AHL right now. So a couple of transactions that they made recently. This one kind of intrigued me. Goalie Olaf Lindbaum, he was promoted from the ECHL's Cincinnati Cyclones to the Hartford Wolf Pack. And of course, the Cyclones, the new ECHL affiliate for the New York Rangers this season. But Lindbaum, now 23 years old, he was actually taken in the second round by the Rangers all the way back in 2018. He made an appearance in one game earlier this year with the Wolf Pack, did Lindbaum. That was against the Providence Bruins on November 11th. He made 17 saves on 19 shots, but the Pack lost that game 2-0. Also appeared in one game with the Wolf Pack last year in relief of Dylan Garand. And, he's not ancient. Obviously, he's only 23 years old, but I do think, with this promotion here, hopefully it's a situation where he can step up a little bit. I'm not sure how it's going to go as far as, him being there with Dylan Garand and Louis Domingue. How are they going to mix and match, and how much playing time is Lindbaum going to get? But last year with the Jacksonville Icemen, Lindbaum largely scuffled. I mean, these are not like atrocious numbers, but they're not great either. He had a good record. He was 17-10-1, but the goals against average was 3.01 and an 890 save percentage. Anytime you're under, a 900 save percentage, your eyebrows go up at least a little bit. And then this year with the Cyclones, once again, of the ECHL, Lindbaum appeared in 8 games, a 324 goals against average, and again, an 890 save percentage. And again, not sure how the usage is going to go, if they have plans to mix him in, go with some kind of a 3-man rotation there. Between, Garand and Domingue and obviously now Lindbaum. But he's been called up. He's got his chance. And, again, don't want to be too overdramatic here. I don't want to say it's like make or break time or sink or swim or anything like that. But this is somebody that, especially when you consider that he was a former second-round pick, he could use a good stretch of hockey right now, whether it's with the Cyclones of the ECHL or even the Wolfpack of the AHL. If he picks it up a little bit, that'll certainly start to bode a little bit better for his future because, he has struggled at times. And obviously, fingers crossed that whenever he plays for the Wolfpack, he can figure it out and give them some good goaltender play, and they can continue this winning streak. The other bit of news here is that Paul Mara, he has been named an assistant coach of the Hartford Wolf Pack specifically for defense. Paul Mara, now 44 years old. He was a defenseman who played for the Lightning, the Coyotes, the Bruins, of course, the Rangers, also the Canadiens, and the Ducks after being drafted number 7 overall by Tampa back in 1997. He spent 3 seasons with the Rangers, so if that name is a little bit familiar, that's probably why. He was there from 2006-07 to 2008-09, and in total in his NHL career, 734 games, 64 goals, 189 assists. He's done some coaching. He was previously the assistant coach of the 2018 United States Olympic women's team. Also coached the PHF's Boston Pride. The league was known as the NWHL back then, but has since changed to the PHF. But he had the most wins in the history of that league as a coach, and he won back-to-back Isabel Cups with the Pride in 2021 and 2022. So he had some success there, obviously. And then this past summer, he was hired by the Rangers in a player development role. And of course, now he moves on to coaching. And I haven't seen this explicitly stated, but I have to believe this has something to do, him being hired now as an assistant coach. It feels a little bit random, but of course, earlier this year, Chris Knobloch had to leave the Hartford Wolf Pack to take the head coaching job of the Edmonton Oilers. And once again, I certainly don't begrudge him for doing that. It's a tremendous opportunity. And, props to Knobloch for making that happen. You knew it was only going to be a matter of time before he was coaching an NHL team. But he leaves the Wolfpack. Steve Smith then named the interim head coach of the Pack after being an assistant coach. And so obviously, the ripple effect there is that now there's kind of an opening for an assistant coach job, and I have to believe that's partially why Mara is taking over at this juncture of the season. But good for him. Obviously, he's already had some success early in his coaching career, and all the best to him. And hopefully, he fits in well with the Wolfpack coaching staff and can help this team continue to play well. Also, before we turn our attention to the Rangers Senators tonight, I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of players that are really playing very well for the Hartford Wolf Pack right now. And one of them is Alex Belzile. He's got 7 goals and 14 assists in 20 games with the Wolf Pack. He's the one who signed as a free agent from Montreal this offseason. He did not make his NHL debut until he was 29 years old. He's now 32, and I believe he didn't score his first NHL goal until he was 30, so obviously a case study in perseverance there, and he stuck with it, and good for him for doing that. And of course, he signs with the Rangers this offseason. One of the few UFAs that signed with the Rangers that was not on a 1-year deal. He got a 2-year deal from the Rangers, and he's on fire recently. He's got 3 goals and 7 assists in his last 9 games, so he's always an option if the Rangers are going to look to maybe call somebody up to the roster. But the problem, and it's a very, very good problem to have, but it's the fact that the Rangers are playing very well, and they have a heck of a team. There's not really any spot for him right now, especially with Johnny Brodzinski. He was called up, and he's producing, and he's playing on the top line. Even with the injuries, it's hard to kind of squeeze Alex Belzile onto that team and into that lineup. Never say never. It's something that could happen a little bit later in the season. But right now, it seems like he's going to stay put with the Wolfpack. Somebody else who caught my attention a little bit is also Mac Hallowell, a defenseman for the Wolfpack. He's 25 years old. He's only played 6 career NHL games. All 6 of them were last year with the Maple Leafs. He was drafted number 118 by Toronto in 2018, but he's just been an assist machine for Hartford this year. He's played in 15 games. He's only got 1 goal, but he's got 19 assists. And it's kind of similar to what I just said about Belzile. And I realize, Hallowell's a defenseman, but it's kind of the same deal where, where do you put him? Like, however good he plays, however well he does for the Hartford Wolfpack, there's nowhere to put him in the Rangers lineup. And once again, a good problem to have. As recently as 3, certainly 4 years ago, the Rangers had this team, and of course they were rebuilding and they were very, very young. But, you're trying to figure out the opening night roster, and you're looking at it, and it's like, how are we even going to come up with 20 guys who are ready to play NHL hockey? And I feel like if this was 3-4 years ago, you'd probably see these guys getting the call. Maybe they even would have made the opening night roster. It's at least possible. Maybe Belzile would have been out there in a 4th-line role. I'm not sure, but it just goes to show how far this Ranger team has come and how deep they are, that these 2 guys are killing it right now. But the idea of promoting them, it's just very, very difficult to see it happening. So hopefully Hallowell sticks with it. He does have a 9-game point streak right now, so he's killing it. Had a 4-game assist all the way back on November 22nd. And, we'll see. But I think at best, he's probably the Rangers' 8th defenseman. You get the 6 who are in the lineup right now. Zach Jones is probably number 7. Maybe Mac Hallowell is number 8. We will see. Connor Mackey was caught up and down with 1 million paper transactions this year. Would they actually go to Mackey? I'm not sure. But obviously, Mac Hallowell has played very, very well so far this season. We're going to keep everything rolling in just a second here. Like I said, I do want to turn our attention now to the Rangers and the Senators. They will be facing off at 7 p.m. tonight. Definitely looking forward to that. First, though, definitely want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win your league, then you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. So go ahead and visit Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on, Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. You need to hire. You need Indeed. All right, so go ahead and keep everything rolling here. And like I said, Rangers back in action tonight against the Ottawa Senators, a road game for the Rangers. So something interesting about the Senators, because obviously, you're checking the standings and you're checking the stats and how have they done recently, who's doing well for them, who's doing not so well. The first thing I noticed is that the Senators have only played 19 games this season. No other team in hockey has played less than 21 games, and all but 7 teams have played 23 games or more. So it seems like it's probably just kind of a weird scheduling quirk. It all adds up to them being in last place, and they don't have a great record, but at 9-10, do you really deserve to be in 8th place out of 8 teams in your division? I would say no, but again, part of that is also due to the fact that they just haven't played enough games to rack up points at the clip that some of the other teams have. So they're 9-10. It's a team that is trying to put it together. I feel like we've kind of been saying that for a while, but they at least do have some young talent on their team right now. And they are coming off of a 2-0 home win over the Seattle Kraken this past Saturday. In that game, Anton Forsberg started at net for the Senators, and he came up with a 39-save shutout. He has started 7 games for the Senators this year. Jonas Korpisalo has started the other 12 games. Both goalies, though, for the Senators have a goals against average over 3. Both have save percentages under 900. And as of this recording, Forsberg is listed as the likely starter for the Senators in this game tonight. Obviously, that makes sense given his recent strong 39-save shutout. I'm sure the Senators would like to capitalize on that and hope that he stays hot. And Igor listed as the likely starter for the Rangers, which obviously makes sense because Igor and Quick just split both games of a back-to-back. And, Quick won, but also gave up 5 goals in that game. Probably could have gotten a little more help from his teammates. And hey, he's 7-0-1, so I'm not going to argue with the results. But yeah, all signs point to Igor being right back out there for the Rangers in this game. As far as players to watch on the Senators, you've got to start with Tim Stutzle. He, of course, went number 3 overall in 2020. That was when the Rangers drafted Lafreniere number 1 overall. 19 games with the Senators so far this year. Stutzle has 5 goals and 18 assists. And, it's always going to be a little bit of a subplot anytime you get these high draft picks that are playing each other, whether it's Hughes and Kakko or, Lafreniere and Stutzle or Lafreniere and Raymond, whatever the case might be. Anytime you've got guys that were drafted like top 5 overall and they're playing each other, you're always going to get a little bit of a subplot there. Lafreniere, while we're talking about him, still playing well. The points have slowed down at least a little bit for Lafreniere. He has just 1 goal and 3 assists in his last 9 games to go along with a -3. He did have an assist in the win against the Sharks, but a good night for him to really bring it against Tim Stutzle. Hopefully he's motivated and ready to go out there and get the job done. And obviously the Panarin line's been huge, and they'll probably need another big game in this one as well. As far as other centers to watch, Brady Tkachuk, he's always in the middle of everything. Obviously a hard-nosed player that's got a tremendous amount of skill as well. He's got 11 goals, 6 assists in 19 games. You've got Claude Giroux, longtime Flyer. He's been quiet recently, has just 1 goal and no assist in his last 5 games, but he does have 17 points overall in 19 games this season, so always got to keep an eye on the veteran. Drake Batherson, 3 goals and an assist in his last 4 games, so he's picked it up recently. And, of course, Vladimir Tarasenko. He's been quiet recently. His last 10 games, he has no goals and only 4 assists. But we know how that goes when we're facing former Rangers. And granted, Tarasenko was not here for that long, but neither was Anthony Duclair and neither was Ryan Carpenter. And both of them scored against the Rangers in the last game against the Sharks. And for Carpenter, that was actually his first goal of the season. So I don't know. Keep an eye on Tarasenko, that's for sure. Make sure he doesn't beat you. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And honestly, with the Senators being down in the standings, and granted, we're not close enough to the deadline where the Senators are just going to start selling pieces. But yeah, Tarasenko could very well be on the move again this season. I've seen some Ranger fans, floating the idea of, well, if the Senators retain half of his salary, maybe the Rangers can squeeze him in under the salary cap. They'd probably have to make another move. You'd probably have to move Barclay Goodrow possibly. And I don't know. I mean, do you want to go back to Tarasenko? It kind of worked last year, but by that same token, the Rangers didn't get out of the first round, and Tarasenko is getting a little bit older and having an okay season, but not, I think, what you would expect. And of course, the Rangers do have a better team than the Senators. He'd probably be out there most likely with better players than he's currently with the Senators. But by that same token, the Senators do have some young, talented players, and Tarasenko's doing all right, but I'm not exactly setting the world on fire there either. And also, as far as the Rangers are concerned, a player to watch tonight, definitely Mika Zibanejad. He tends to just destroy his old team, the Ottawa Senators. I don't know if he took it personally when he was traded or not, but regardless, he always puts up big-time numbers whenever the Rangers play Ottawa. Mika has played 13 games against the Senators, has 8 goals and 8 assists, and has scored on 19% of his shots. That kind of jumped off the page for me. And on top of that, Mika is just on fire right now. Whether they're playing the Senators or anybody else, he's got a 7-game point streak and has 4 goals and 5 assists in that time. So starting to pick it up a little bit is Mika Zibanejad. And let me just say to Ranger fans, definitely enjoy this game here tonight, because the Rangers are not going to be back in action until this weekend. They will play on Saturday. They are at the Caps on Saturday at 7 p.m. And then they are at home against the Kings on Sunday, also at 7 p.m. And just to kind of throw this out there, since we got a couple extra minutes here, the Rangers, the rest of this month, every game starts at either 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. A while back, the Rangers had all those crazy late starts early in the season where they were, traveling on the West Coast, and every game was starting at 10 or 10:30. We don't have a game starting later than 8 p.m. until next month. I believe January 18th is the day, so enjoy that while you can as well. But I figure we can call it there for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.